together to speak of desire, of that hidden current which surges beneath the threshold of our civilized selves, we must dare to look into a truth that frightens even those who believe themselves most liberated. Sexual attraction, that magnetic pull between two beings, is not simply the call of nature, nor merely the instinct for reproduction. It is the deepest cipher of the unconscious, a code written in shadows, a summons that awakens archetypes far older than the individual who experiences them. We believe we fall in love with a body, with a face, with the warmth of skin, but in reality we are colliding with the forgotten image of our own psyche, projected outward, closed in the disguise of another human being. This is why passion feels so fated, so irrational, so impossible to resist. For in truth, it is not the other alone who stands before us, but the ancient mystery of our own soul demanding recognition. Sexual attraction, when stripped of its romantic ornaments, exposes a frightening revelation that we are not in control of our desires. Something deeper than consciousness chooses for us. It is the Anima and Animus, the archetypal figures of the unconscious, who whisper in our dreams and lure us through the bodies of others. You see a man or a woman, and yet you see the silhouette of your unlived possibilities, the face of the opposite within you that you have repressed or long to integrate. And this projection is intoxicating, for it seems divine. It feels like destiny. But here lies the darkest truth. What you call attraction may not be love at all. It may be the power of your unconscious attempting to complete itself, dragging you toward encounters that will shatter your illusions. I have observed countless patients whose lives were torn asunder by the magnetism of such attraction. They said, "I could not help myself. It was stronger than reason." And they were right, for the unconscious has no concern with morality or social order. It seeks only wholeness, and if wholeness demands catastrophe, then catastrophe will be chosen. That is why forbidden love has such a terrifying allure. Incestuous longing, adulterous affaires, unions that break taboos, all these are archetypal dramas in which the psyche attempts to awaken the individual to its own shadow. To fall under this spell is to step into a ritual as old as humanity itself. And when you awaken in the arms of another, trembling with both ecstasy and shame, you may think it is your own will, but it is far older than you. Consider the dreams that reveal the truth hidden beneath desire. A young woman dreams of a serpent coiled around her bedpost, its eyes glowing in the darkness. She awakens in terror, and yet in her waking life she feels drawn irresistibly to a man she believes dangerous. The dream and the attraction are one and the same. The serpent is the archetype of forbidden knowledge, the primal force of erotic transformation. It warns her that what she desires will not simply give her pleasure, it will awaken something in her that she is not prepared to confront. Sexual attraction is never only physical, it is always symbolic. The other becomes the mirror of the serpent, the demon, the angel, the shadowed god or goddess who has slumbered in the unconscious. That is why the truth is so dark. Because if you follow the path of attraction blindly, you will discover not love, but initiation, attraction is the gateway through which the unconscious seizes you, tears apart your certainties, and forces you into confrontation with the shadow. Why do so many relationships born of burning passion end in destruction? Because the fire was never meant to sustain domestic happiness. It was meant to burn away illusions. When a man falls in love with a woman who embodies all the qualities he has denied in himself, his tenderness, his vulnerability, his capacity for chaos, he will worship her, and she will become for him a goddess. But she cannot carry this projection forever. No human can. When the projection breaks, he will feel betrayed. And yet, it is his own unconscious that betrayed him. The goddess vanishes, and the mortal woman remains, and often he will hate her for reminding him of what he refused to see in himself. The forbidden insight then is this: sexual attraction is not about the other at all. It is about you. The other is only the vessel of your projection. That is why one man finds irresistible what another finds repulsive. Each is not seeing the same woman, but the image of his own psyche reflected back. This is why so many are ensnared by what destroys them. The psyche does not care for comfort, it cares for growth. And growth is born in the crucible of suffering. Desire pulls you into the arms of the very person who will awaken your wounds, because the wound is the path to transformation. This is not the truth most people wish to hear. We prefer the illusion that love is pure, noble, chosen by our own will. But if you observe carefully, you will see that attraction strikes like lightning out of nowhere and leaves reason trembling. Why her? Why him? Why now? These are questions the conscious mind cannot answer, because the choice was made in the hidden depths of the psyche long before you became aware of it. To confront this is to lose the comfort of control. It is to admit that you are not the master of your own desires. In the old mysteries, this force was worshipped as a god. The Greeks called him Eros, the winged child who pierced the heart with his arrows. The ancients knew what we have forgotten, that sexual attraction is divine madness, a possession by forces beyond the ego. To be struck by Eros was to be seized by fate itself. And if you resisted, it could destroy you. But if you surrendered, it could carry you into transformation. Eros was both creative and destructive, life-giving and annihilating. That duality has never vanished. It lives in every glance that lingers too long, in every dream that burns with forbidden fire. I tell you, then, that to understand your desire is to look into the mirror of the unconscious. It is to see not merely the beloved, but the shadow of your soul clothed in another's form. And if you are courageous enough, you will not worship the other as if they were a god, nor will you curse them when the illusion breaks. You will recognize that they were the emissary of your psyche, sent to awaken you to your own hidden truth. This recognition is painful, but it is also liberating, for once you see the projection, you may withdraw it. And when you do, you begin to see the other as they truly are. Only then can genuine love be born, not the love of illusion, but the love of reality, in which two souls meet without masks, but most never arrive at this stage. for they cannot bear the darkness. They cannot admit that their holy passion was, in truth, an inner drama played out upon another's body. They cling to the fantasy, and when it breaks, they seek another vessel, another projection, repeating the cycle endlessly. They say, I always fall for the same kind of person. Of course they do, for the unconscious seeks wholeness, and until its demands are met, it will lure you again and again into the same archetypal snare. It is a wheel that spins until you step into its center, and so I warn you, when you feel that overwhelming pull of attraction, do not imagine it is simply fate smiling upon you. Ask instead, what part of myself is calling me through this person? What shadow, what archetype, what forgotten figure of my own psyche has closed itself in their flesh? If you do not ask, you will be consumed. If you do, you may yet find within the passion the seed of transformation. When I speak of the unconscious orchestrating your desire, I do not mean this in a purely mechanical or biological sense. I mean that you are caught in the theater of archetypes, that timeless stage upon which gods and demons enact their dramas through you. Every time you fall in love, every time you feel that aching pull of attraction, you are stepping into a story written long before your birth. You may believe you are the author, but in truth, you are an actor, a vessel. The lines were inscribed in the depths of the collective unconscious, and you are compelled to speak them. That is why your attraction feels like destiny. It is destiny, though not the destiny of two individuals, but of forces that transcend the personal. The anima in man and the animus in woman are the most powerful agents in this drama. They are not mere psychological constructs, but living symbols, mediators between your conscious self and the vast ocean of the unconscious. When you fall in love, it is often not with the real person, but with the anima or animus projected onto them. A man sees a woman who seems to radiate mystery, tenderness, or chaos, and in her he perceives his soul. A woman sees a man who embodies strength, wisdom, or dangerous power, and in him she perceives her spirit. But this is illusion. The other carries only fragments of these qualities, while the rest are woven by the projection of your own psyche. And here's the danger. The more powerful the projection, the more blinding the illusion, the more catastrophic the awakening. When reality intrudes, this awakening is often devastating, because the image of the soul cannot live in the flesh of another. The anima is not your lover. She is the gateway to your unconscious. The animus is not your partner. He is the guide to your inner depths. To mistake them for the beloved is to court tragedy, and yet tragedy is often necessary, because only through the shattering of illusion do we confront the truth. The beloved betrays you, or fails you, or simply cannot bear the weight of your worship, and in that collapse, you discover the shadow, the dark reflection of yourself that you had refused to acknowledge. Sexual attraction is thus the lure that draws you into confrontation with your shadow. Why is it that the people you find most irresistible are often those who awaken your deepest wounds? Why do you feel magnetized by what threatens to undo you? Because the unconscious is not interested in comfort. It is interested in transformation, It seeks to make you whole, and wholeness demands that you embrace what you have denied. If you have denied your vulnerability, you will be drawn to someone who embodies it in a way that disarms you. If you have denied your darkness, you will be drawn to someone who manifests it in a way that seduces you. The forbidden truth is that your desire is a map leading you directly to the parts of yourself you fear most. Think of the myth of Psyche and Eros. Psyche, whose name means soul, is drawn irresistibly to Eros, the god of desire, but their union cannot be sustained because Psyche looks upon him and breaks the taboo. She wishes to know who he truly is, and in that moment her vanishes. This is the story of every passion. You fall in love, you are consumed by desire, you believe you have found a god, but then you look too closely and the god vanishes, leaving only the fragile human behind, the disappointment, the anger, the despair. These are the ashes of projection, but in those ashes lies the seed of transformation. For Psyche must then undergo trials, must descend into darkness, must labor and suffer to regain her union with Eros. And in that process, she becomes whole. So it is with us. Attraction is the beginning, but suffering is the initiation. The darkness of sexual attraction lies also in its relation to power. When you are possessed by desire, you are not free. You are under the dominion of the unconscious. That is why so many speak of being enslaved by love, of being unable to resist. It is not a metaphor, it is the truth. Desire bends the will, blinds the reason, shatters the ego's illusion of autonomy, and yet within this possession lies a secret. To surrender consciously is to transform the possession into initiation. If you enter into desire with awareness, if you recognize the projection, if you confront the shadow that rises through it, then you are no longer a victim. You are an initiate of the mystery. But if you resist awareness, if you cling to the illusion, then you will be consumed. I recall a man who came to me, tormented by his obsession with a woman he could not have. He said she haunted his dreams. Her image pursued him day and night. He could not escape her. When I asked him to describe her, he spoke of qualities that no mortal could fully embody: angelic wisdom, unearthly beauty, divine compassion. It was clear that he was not speaking of her, but of his anima. I told him, you must not seek her in the flesh, but in your own soul. She is the voice of your unconscious calling you. If you pursue her outwardly, you will destroy yourself. If you pursue her inwardly, you may yet become whole. He did not wish to hear this, for his passion blinded him. And yet, over time, as he confronted the dreams, as he began to withdraw the projection, he discovered within himself the very qualities he had worshipped in her. This is the task of attraction, not to possess the other, but to integrate the soul. But here lies the forbidden aspect, the truth few dare to confront. Much of what you call attraction is bound to the shadow of sexuality itself. Desire is not pure. It is not innocent. It carries with it the weight of archetypal darkness, the incest taboo, the forbidden union, the lure of destruction. Dreams reveal this with startling clarity. A man dreams of embracing his sister and awakens in horror, not realizing that the dream is not about incest at all, but about the union of his conscious self with the Anima, who wears the guise of the sister. A woman dreams of a monstrous lover who devours her, and she wakes in terror, not realizing that this is the Animus in its destructive form, demanding recognition. These dreams unveil what polite society represses, that sexuality is intertwined with the forbidden, with death, with the monstrous. To be drawn to another is to brush against these primal forces. That is why desire feels both ecstatic and dangerous. We hide from this truth by clothing attraction in romance, in ideals of love and purity. But beneath the flowers and poetry, the serpent coils. The serpent is not evil. It is the archetype of transformation. But to embrace it, you must accept the darkness. To deny it is to live in illusion, to believe that love is safe, when in truth, it is the most dangerous of all human experiences. It can shatter you, under you, strip you bare before yourself, and yet only in this stripping can the soul emerge. Do you see now why I call it a forbidden insight? Because to acknowledge it is to destroy the illusions upon which most of our relationships rest. To admit that you are not in love with the other, but with your own unconscious, reflected in them, is to rob the passion of its divine mask. And yet, paradoxically, it is only then that true love becomes possible. For true love is not projection, it is not the worship of the Anima or Animus in another. It is the meeting of two whole beings who have withdrawn their projections, who see one another not as gods, but as humans. This is a far rarer, quieter, and more enduring form of love. It is not born of blind attraction, but of conscious recognition, but you cannot arrive at it without first passing through the fire of projection and the ashes of disappointment. The path to wholeness leads through the ruins of desire. When you stand before the one you desire, therefore, I tell you, look within. Ask what figure of your unconscious is clothed in their form. Ask what shadow calls you through their eyes. If you dare to see, you may discover not only the secret of your attraction, but the key to your own transformation. For the beloved is a mirror, and in that mirror you will see either your prison or your liberation. When I speak of shadow in the context of attraction, I do not mean a vague moral darkness, but that precise region of the psyche where everything you have refused to acknowledge in yourself has been banished. It is not gone, it is not destroyed, it lives, pulsates, and waits. And in the hour of desire, it emerges in the most seductive of forms. The beloved becomes the carrier of your shadow. This is why you are fascinated, obsessed, even tormented, for you see in them what you have exiled from yourself. The truth you did not dare to live has taken human shape, and it stands before you, smiling, beckoning. This is why attraction is so often bound with danger. You feel that you are risking something immense, that to surrender to this desire is to gamble your very soul. And in a sense, this is true. For the shadow does not come gently, it comes to overwhelm, to disturb, to dismantle, The unconscious does not negotiate politely, it seizes you. It intoxicates you. It ravages your certainty. When two people are caught in the thrall of such attraction, it is rarely a calm union. It is volcanic, storm-ridden, full of extremes. They feel that they are possessed, and indeed they are possessed by the shadow, by the anima, by the archetypal forces that move beneath the thin crust of consciousness. Dreams reveal this truth without disguise. A woman dreams of entering a dark forest where she encounters a figure who both terrifies and entrances her. She cannot tell if he is lover or predator, angel or daemon. She awakens breathless, trembling with both fear and desire. This dream is not about any external man. It is the animus, the archetypal masculine within her, appearing in its shadow form. And when she later meets a man who radiates this same ambiguity of danger and allure, she will feel the overwhelming force of attraction. But it is not him she loves, it is the figure from her dream, the archetype he has stirred. The same is true for a man who dreams of a veiled woman whose eyes pierce him with unbearable intensity. He feels she knows him more deeply than he knows himself. She seduces and eludes, promising ecstasy but vanishing before he can touch her. This is the anima, the eternal feminine of his soul. And when he awakens, he will unconsciously seek her in the women he encounters. He will project upon them the mystery, the depth, the divinity of his anima. And when one seems to carry it, he will fall helplessly, hopelessly into passion. But again, it is not she he loves, but the archetypal figure cloaked in her image. Here lies the danger of sexual attraction. It is never simply about the other person. It is a meeting of unconscious with unconscious, shadow with shadow, archetype with archetype. Two people believe they are drawn together as individuals, but in truth, their psyches are colliding in an ancient ritual. They are the actors. The stage is their relationship, but the play has been written by forces older than humanity. That is why such relationships are often so consuming. They are not personal, they are mythological. They are gods wearing human masks, and when gods embrace, the earth trembles. Passion of this kind is too great to be contained by ordinary life. It erupts, it disrupts, it refuses compromise. It is why lovers forsake duty, abandon reason. Betrayers, they are not merely unfaithful to a spouse. They are faithful to an archetype. They are not simply reckless, they are possessed. And possession demands sacrifice. The cost is often unbearable. Reputation destroyed, families broken, lives shattered. And yet, through this ruin, the psyche seeks its wholeness. The ancients knew this mystery well. In the Eleusinian mysteries, in the orgiastic rites of Dionysus, in the sacred marriages of Inanna and Tammuz, sexuality was not merely about pleasure, it was a rite of death and rebirth, a descent into the underworld. To unite with another was to risk dissolution, to die to oneself and be remade. This truth has not vanished. It is hidden beneath the surface of every modern love affair. When you fall into attraction, you are not just seeking union, you are seeking annihilation. Something in you longs to die, so that something new can be born. That is why desire is so frightening. beneath the sweetness of intimacy lies the abyss of transformation. To be truly touched by another is to lose yourself, to surrender the ego's boundaries, to allow the unconscious to break in, and once broken, you are never the same. This is why passion is remembered long after it ends. The person fades, but the transformation remains. You are marked, branded, altered. A lover may pass through your life in a season, but their shadow will remain with you for a lifetime. They carried the key to a door within your psyche, and once that door is opened, it can never again be shut. This, too, is the darkest truth, that sexual attraction is often a summons to suffering. The unconscious knows that suffering is the great initiator. It is through heartbreak, through despair, through the ruin of illusions, that the ego is forced to surrender its tyranny. I have seen it again and again, the man who loses himself in passion only to find his life in ashes. Yet from those ashes emerges a soul he never knew he possessed. The woman who gives herself to a forbidden love only to be abandoned, and in the loneliness discovers her own power. The attraction was never meant to bring lasting bliss. It was meant to break them open. And yet, not all are broken open. Many are simply broken, for the unconscious is ruthless. It does not guarantee your survival. It demands your transformation. If you resist, if you cling to illusion, if you refuse the shadow, you may be destroyed. Desire is a god, and gods are merciless to those who dishonor them. This is why love has left so many graves, so many tragedies, so many lives undone. It is not because love is cruel, but because we mistake projection for reality. We demand from the other what no mortal can give, to be our soul. But if you dare to see, if you dare to withdraw the projection, then the path of desire becomes the path of individuation. The beloved becomes not a god, but a mirror. You see in them what you lacked, what you denied, what you buried. You suffer, but you learn. You lose them, but you gain yourself. This is the true meaning of forbidden love, not the transgression of outer laws, but the transgression of inner boundaries. You are forced to confront what you have exiled within, and when you embrace it, you become more whole. Remember always that attraction is not random. It is the handwriting of the unconscious upon the fabric of your life. Each person who draws you irresistibly carries a message. They are the dream that has stepped into waking life. To love them blindly is to drown in the dream. To love them consciously is to awaken through it. This is the forbidden insight, that attraction is not about finding your missing half, but about reclaiming your missing self. The other is only the messenger. Therefore, do not despise the suffering that comes with passion. Do not curse the beloved who betrayed you, nor the desire that led you into ruin. For in that ruin lies the seed of the soul. The pain is the price of awakening. You asked for transformation, though you did not know it, and the unconscious answered. It gave you the beloved as a mirror, as a wound, as a fire, and though you may burn, from the ashes rises the phoenix of the self. So I tell you now, do not seek to avoid the darkness of attraction, but do not surrender blindly to it either. Walk into it with open eyes. Recognize the shadow, honor the archetype, see the projection for what it is, and when the fire comes, let it burn away your illusions, but not your soul. Then you will know not only the danger of desire, but its sacred gift. For beneath the forbidden truth lies the holiest mystery, that through the agony of passion, the soul remembers itself. And now we come to the deepest layer, where the mystery of sexual attraction reveals its final purpose. For all the shadows, the illusions, the projections, the betrayals, the ecstasies and despairs, there remains beneath them a question older than any myth. Why does desire exist at all? Why does the soul call itself forth through another, through this dangerous magnetism that compels and devastates us? The answer lies in individuation, that long and painful process through which the self becomes whole. Sexual attraction is not merely nature's trick to ensure reproduction. If that were its only purpose, the force of it would not be so overwhelming, nor its consequences so devastating. No, the power of desire is spiritual, archetypal, transformative. It is the unconscious reaching through the veil of flesh to force you into confrontation with yourself. The beloved becomes the medium, the stage upon which your unlived truth and exiled shadows appear before you. This is why attraction feels inevitable, why it cannot be reasoned away, why it consumes the mind. It is not the logic of the ego, but the logic of the soul. And yet, a few understand this, because they wish attraction to deliver happiness, not transformation. They say, if only I can have this person, I will be fulfilled, but fulfillment does not come from possessing the other. It comes from integrating what the other awakens in you. That is why so many are disillusioned, why marriages crumble after the fire of passion fades. The projection was mistaken for reality. The anima was mistaken for the beloved, the animus for the partner. When the mask breaks, they blame the other, when in truth it was their own unconscious deceiving them. But the deception was necessary, for without it they would never have been drawn into the transformative fire. The forbidden truth is this: you must lose the beloved in order to find yourself. The goddess must vanish. The god must betray you. The projection must collapse, for only then will you see that what you longed for was never outside of you. It was always within. The beloved was only a mirror, a temporary carrier of your soul's image. To cling to them is to remain in illusion. To release them is to claim yourself. This is the crucifixion of love, the agony of letting go, the darkness that feels like death, and yet beyond it lies resurrection. I have seen men destroyed by passion, and I have seen men reborn through it. I have seen women broken by desire, and I have seen women transformed into their deepest strength. The difference lies in whether they could recognize the projection, whether they could face the shadow. Those who refused were consumed, repeating the cycle endlessly, seeking again and again the same archetype in different faces, forever unsatisfied, forever enslaved. Those who dared to see, who bore the pain of disillusionment, who accepted the suffering as initiation, they emerged with a new soul. They became more whole, more real, more human. And from that place, they could finally love, not as projection, but as presence. For true love, the rarest love, is born only after the death of illusion. It is not the fire of projection, but the steady light of recognition. It is when two beings, having withdrawn their anima and animus, having faced their shadows, stand before one another naked of masks. They do not worship each other as gods, nor demand salvation from each other. They meet as humans, a whole in themselves, and in that wholeness they can give without demand, receive without illusion. This love is not as intoxicating as passion, but it is more enduring, more real, more luminous. It is the union of two who have become whole, and thus can share wholeness without consuming one another. But to reach this, you must first pass through the darkness. There is no shortcut. You must feel the fire of attraction. You must be blinded by projection. You must suffer the collapse. This is the descent into the underworld, the night sea journey, the crucible of transformation, and you must not despise it, for it is the way the unconscious calls you. The beloved is your initiation, the passion, your trial, the heartbreak, your passage. To deny this is to deny the soul. Do not imagine, however, that this journey ends once and for all. The unconscious is infinite, and life will present you again and again with figures who awaken its depths. Each time you feel attraction, you are being summoned anew. Each time you must ask, what part of me is calling through this person? What shadow? What archetype? What unclaimed fragment of my soul appears here? The work is never finished, for the self is inexhaustible. But as you become more conscious, you are less enslaved. You are no longer dragged blindly into passion, but enter it with awareness, with reverence, with the knowledge that you walk on sacred ground. This is the secret that religion once preserved in its mysteries, that myth expressed in symbols, but that modern society has forgotten. We treat attraction as entertainment, as diversion, as something to be indulged without reflection. And so we are consumed by it, enslaved, broken. But if we could once again approach it as mystery, as initiation, as sacred fire, then it would become not our destruction, but our rebirth. Sexual attraction is the alchemy of the soul, the furnace in which the lead of the ego is burned away and the gold of the self is revealed, but only if you dare to enter it consciously. So I tell you, when you feel the burning of desire, do not rush to possess, nor to flee. Stand in it, let it speak to you. Ask what figure of your unconscious has risen, what shadow demands your attention, what unlived possibility is calling. See the beloved not as salvation, nor as doom, but as mirror. And when the fire consumes your illusions, do not despair, for in that fire the self is forged. This is the darkest truth about sexual attraction, that it is not about the other at all, but about your own soul seeking its wholeness. The forbidden insight is that the beloved is never the true object of your desire. The true object is the self, hidden, exiled, waiting. To know this is to walk the path of individuation, to transform passion into initiation, to discover in the ashes of heartbreak the treasure of your soul. And if, having walked this path, you meet another who has also walked it, then the mystery is fulfilled. Two souls, whole in themselves, meet not as gods projecting illusions, but as humans bearing truth. Their union is no longer possession, but communion, no longer projection, but recognition. This is the marriage of true love, the sacred union that myth has always hinted at, but few ever reach. It is the hieros gamos, the divine marriage, not of illusions, but of realities. And from this union arises not only joy, but the power to create life, yes, but also to create meaning, to create wholeness, to create a world touched by the fire of the self. So when next you are struck by desire, remember, you stand at the threshold of a mystery. You are being summoned into transformation. Do not flee it. Do not worship it. Do not be consumed blindly by it. Enter it with awareness, with reverence, with the courage to see through the mask. For in the beloved's eyes, you will glimpse not only their soul, but your own, and if you have the strength to face what you see, you will find that the darkest truth of attraction is also its greatest gift, that through the danger, the suffering, the illusion, the shadow, you are being called home to yourself. This is the forbidden insight I leave with you. Love is the wound through which the soul enters. Attraction is the fire that burns away the false self. And in the end, what you long for in another is what you have always longed for in yourself. To see this is to awaken. To live it is to be reborn.